from Oceanside, California on a cloudy but amazing day. There's a surf competition, girls surf competition starting here soon. And it looks like the waves are pretty good. But we're not here to talk about waves, we're here to talk about marriage counseling. So, Yvonne, why do so many couples struggle with marriage therapy, marriage counseling?
Well, I can't speak for everybody, but I can speak for myself. And I think waves are appropriate. There's a lot of tumultuous waves when you go to marriage counseling. You go in there and you feel like you're getting waves crashed upon your head, because typically it's a battle for who's right and who's wrong and whose fault it was, whatever it is that you're discussing at the time. And the therapist is doing their best to navigate that, but you're not focused on what the root cause is of all those problems. You're focused on how do you either stop having those problems on the surface, or whose fault it was, or how do you discuss it. But I always left feeling like, it really wasn't that effective, and typically my marriage counselor was like taking my side because I usually was right.
Me too.
That wasn't very helpful.
Me too, in the sense that I would walk out of those marriage counseling sessions almost every time like, this sucks, let's just get a divorce. And why is that?
I think for me, it was because I didn't really understand what the problem was. The therapist wasn't helping me figure out what the problem was. We were trying to fix each other on the surface. But I didn't discover until later that the problem was I didn't feel like I was enough. And so I was always trying to fuel that by feeding it with external things, whether it's like getting married and having a house, even if maybe it wasn't the perfect match. Like, I didn't even know who I was yet, but I thought, I need to get married. And so I got married. And I think for me, a lot of people don't know what the problem really is or what's causing it, because it's stuck in their subconscious.
Yeah, so the root cause. If you have physical pain or mental pain, you got to get to the root. So what's the cause? What would be the cause of two people who can't get along? It's not that they don't get along with each other, they do, but that's not the reason they don't get along with each other. They don't get along with each other because of the relationship that you have with yourself. That is the problem. And that's why marriage counseling typically doesn't work. I went to a lot and I tried really hard. But just like Yvonne, I had this underlying feeling of I'm not enough. So if you're sitting there and you're like, well, my marriage really sucks and I'm thinking about going to marriage counseling, or I'm going to marriage counseling, but we're getting nowhere, it's actually getting worse, there's a reason for that, and it's not your fault. It has to do with why you feel the way you do about yourself, and that's not your fault. It was born out of something from your childhood programming. You were born this perfect child, and then through these situations, these scenarios, these scenes that you lived through, your brain came up with different meanings around events that made you feel stressed or traumatized or out of control or lack control.
Yeah, and I think when you go to counseling, you're trying to fix each other, and you can't fix anybody but yourself. And you're trying to fix the situation, but it's never about the situation itself or the other person. But that's what you focus on. It's really about, like you said, the relationship with yourself. But that doesn't typically happen. That's not something that's discussed typically in marriage counseling.
Yeah, so if you want to fix your marriage, you got to work on yourself. When you argue with your spouse, it is never about the actual argument. It's your brain sensing danger, because when you get into a negative emotional state, you go into a fight or flight state. So your brain is scanning the savannah looking for the lion, right? You need to overcome that and know that, hey, this isn't about the situation. We've created something really, really cool that we call the Joy Regenerator, because we literally allows you to regenerate your joy. And we're not selling anything. It's completely free. We're here to make an impact. So if you want to pick this thing up, go to bradchandler.com/tracker and start using it. It's very simple. You take a couple deep breaths. You identify the emotion. So Yvonne just said something to me and it made me sad. So I'm like, okay, I'm feeling sad. I'm identifying it. And then I say, it's okay you're feeling sad, because it's not the 50-year-old Brad, it's the 6-year-old inside of him that feels sad. And then I try to figure out where did it come from? Well, where it came from was when my dad made me feel unloved. And then I'm like, well, she's not my dad and she loves me. So boom, I go right back into joy. And usually I layer in a couple things to be grateful for. She loves me, she's healthy, she's a part of my life, she's helping me. So you guys can do the same thing, and you can turn conflict into actually an opportunity to grow and become closer to your spouse.
Yeah, and I would say, don't think of it as you're broken. You're not broken. It's not like you have to fix yourself. You just have to, just like it's a joy regenerator, you have to regenerate the self that you're born as, which is perfect, just as way you are. It's your environment and your upbringing that molds you into something different than your authentic self. So this is about getting back to your authentic self, getting back to your original joy. And Brad, that address again, that's the address it is now. What might that address be in the very near future if somebody's listening to this later?
I don't know. Just go to bradchandler.com/tracker. But listen, all change begins with awareness. So if you're struggling in your marriage and you've tried everything, or you're like, my marriage is about to end, or it's her fault. It's her fault. I'm going to divorce her and I'm going to go find another person. What you're going to do is you're going to go find another person just like her, because that's what your subconscious mind is asking for. So remember, all change begins with awareness. So if you want to be aware, if you have these programming, these childhood programming, there's another simple thing you can do. Go right now to bradchandler.com/quiz, completely free, not going to sell you anything, and take this. It takes 3 minutes. Figure out if you have childhood programming issues, and if you do, I promise you they're affecting your marriage, because it's impossible not to. If you feel unworthy or not enough to some degree, it is really hard to have a deeply connected relationship with someone where you're in simpatico and you have a good back and forth. No, it's always probably conflict battle. So all change begins with awareness. So I would say step one is go to bradchandler.com, take the quiz, see if you have any underlying issues, and then if you do, go and download the tracker, bradchandler.com/tracker, and every argument that you ever have can actually turn into a beautiful thing. It can turn into you guys coming together. And that's it. If you guys have any questions, you can reach us at bradchandler.com. I hope that was helpful. Life is often not what you think it is. And marriage counseling and focusing on the symptoms, it's kind of like traditional therapy. Why doesn't traditional therapy work? It's the same reason. You focus on the conscious mind, which only is responsible for 5% of your daily behavior. What they need to do is they need to go to the root. What caused the depression, the anxiety, the drinking, the food issue you had? None of this stuff is your fault. It's all from a root scene or cause that happened to you as a child. You just go back and figure out what that was and what the meaning and story you told yourself around that, and then you tell yourself a new story. It's a proven process. If we can help, let us know. Love heals all. Hope you have an amazing Thursday. Signing off from Oceanside, California.